Hello, this is the 2025 version of the ASUS ROG Strix Scar 18 G835. It's a beast of a laptop, but is it hard to open it for servicing? Well, the short answer is no. Let me show you why. Yes, that's right. There are no screws on the bottom plate. It's held by a locking mechanism right in the middle of the front section. Push the lock to the left until the red indicator appears on the right. Then, slide the plate downward until the red marker shows up in the small hole underneath. That's your cue to remove the panel by pulling it toward the front. Reattaching it back on is easy. Just align it with the sides and push it gently to the back until you hear a satisfying click. The other side of the plate reveals dust filters for the three fans and thin, soft padding above the battery. The screw-free design is definitely a welcome change. Removing the bottom cover automatically shuts down the power. The system won't turn back on until the cover is securely reattached. At first glance, it seems that you have easy access to the upgradable components. However, the cool-looking internal frame that covers the entire motherboard blocks the battery connector. So if you want to take out the battery for some reason, you have to undo 19 Phillips head screws. Pry the frame, and then you'll realize that's still not the end of the story. But first, let's finish taking off the frame. Detach the connector that can be seen on the left. When the screws are out of the equation, pop the entire edge of the frame that is below the LED strap using a thin plastic tool. The frame is made of plastic. Some of the screws that hold the bottom fan and the battery are shared with the frame, so they are already gone. Now the battery connector is hidden below the bottom fan that cools the chipset. Undo the two screws on the left, lift the fan, and unplug the connector by raising it upward while holding the small plastic handle on top. Undo the three screws that secure the battery and lift it out. The autonomous life isn't something to write home about. Around 3.5 hours of 4K YouTube video playback. So, taking off the bottom plate is super easy, but something as basic as getting to the battery connector could be a nightmare for some users. Go figure. You get two 2280M.2 slots. ASUS says they're PCIe Gen 5 ready, though our unit came with two Gen 4 SSDs running in RAID 0 for max storage performance. Both drives have polyester films on top and are also wrapped in graphite sheets. Removing the NVMEs is a breeze thanks to the Q-latch mechanism. Just turn it counterclockwise, and the SSDs are released. No screws, no standoffs. Nice. The user-replaceable Wi-Fi 7 card is also covered with a protective film. Speaking of which, an absorber sheet is placed above the two SODIMMs that fit up to 64 gigabytes of 5,600 memory. Sadly, no dedicated thermal pads for the modules. In a typical ASUS fashion, the thermal system is called ROG Intelligent Cooling. First of all, the exhaust vents are on the back, and the whole system, with its large heat sinks, is positioned as close as possible to the grill to let internal heat escape quickly. That's the best of both worlds. The hot air will not reach your hands when using an external mouse, and the display is kept away from the hot airflow. The small cutouts on the base's sides and the keyboard itself act as air inlets, which helps lower the external surface temperatures under heavy loads. The powerful CPU and GPU are cooled by an end-to-end vapor chamber with 3 fans. It's complemented by a multi-layered heatsink design where the vapor chamber's back is literally sandwiched between 2 copper heatsinks. The different cooling layers are shaped to match the motherboard for optimal contact with the processor and graphics card. On paper, this pushes the heat dissipation to new heights without making the whole cooling unit too bulky. It's time for the most interesting part, and that's the cooling removal. First, unplug the 3 fan connectors. The lower fan is already unscrewed, but you'll need to remove 2 screws from each of the 2 main units. Seven large captive screws hold the center of the thermal system. Follow the marked order. The bottom fan does more than just cool the chipset. It also pushes the heat generated by those 2 thirsty chips toward the heat sinks, boosting the overall efficiency of the vapor chamber. Untangle the cables around the fan housings. Be very careful when prying the cooling. Pop it from different sides and angles using a lever tool. Don't apply any excessive force. Here's how the other side of the cooling looks when it's turned over. Conductanot extreme liquid metal is applied to both the CPU and GPU. We can spot the processor and the graphics card chips covered in liquid metal. Check out our full review at techpowerup.com.